Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC Football Podcast. My name's Joey Weaver. He's Mike McDaniel. Mike, week 14, it's rivalry week. We got a lot of games to preview. How you doing? You ready to talk about some games?
Well, we were real swift on the recap, an hour and 49 minutes the other night. So I figured, with a million games to preview, we'll definitely go a little bit faster in 2 hours tonight.
I was going to say, we'll probably be done in at least 3 to 4 minutes faster than we were on the recap. So I'm looking forward to setting that record.
Yeah, it'll be like the meetings at work. We'll give you a few minutes back,
That's right. Mike, we're live, youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. It is going on 11 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday, November the 26th. So we, a little over 24 hours before the clock strikes midnight on Thanksgiving morning. So we are with you live. We got some people here in the comments with us. We appreciate those folks. As a reminder, if you're with us, please hit that subscribe button at youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. We are aiming for 550 subscribers by the end of the season. Currently at 519. You guys have been absolutely incredible getting us to that 500 mark this season. Let's push forward. Let's get to 550 by the end of the season. We would really appreciate your help with that.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. And if you've already subscribed, you're here with us, make sure you hit that like button, hit the bell icon. You'll be notified when we're going to go live and for future recaps, previews, other shows that we might do. We loved having you here in the chat, and that's a good way to find us and know when we're going live.
The chat was on fire the other night for the recap. I'm hoping for something similar tonight for the preview.
That's right. We had a lot of fun Sunday night. Appreciate the folks that came out for that, and looking forward to another good night tonight. Mike, anything else before we get into a Rhoback look back at week 13?
The look back is of massive importance this week.
That's right. Let's get into that. The Rhoback look back at week 13. As a reminder, use promo code GOACC20 for 20% off your first order at Rhoback.com, or even if you've already made your first order at Rhoback.com, use that promo code. That helps them know that we sent you there. We would appreciate that. They've got all sorts of wonderful athleisure, polos and pullovers and joggers and shorts and T-shirts and all sorts of great things. Men, women, children, stuff for the whole family. A lot of great things. And honestly, this is the time of year, Mike, where we get into like the holiday season, and I'm having to make a Christmas list of gifts that I want. Rhoback.com, one of the first places I'm going. So this is a great opportunity, either if you want something from there, or maybe someone special in your life needs something from Rhoback.com. Either way, use promo code GOACC20 for 20% off your first order.
That way they can not only get you a gift, but we get a kickback. So
that's right. Yeah, we would love that. Mike, the Rhoback look back is honestly not even really about week 13. I mean, it's a little bit about week 13, I think, but we sit here again. This is Tuesday evening, November the 26th. We are less than 12 hours removed from finding out that Mack Brown will be fired from North Carolina at the end of this season. And very interesting situation to me on like a couple of levels. I mean, first of all, he will be fired, but he's being allowed or, instructed, whatever, to coach the game this weekend against NC State. That's kind of an interesting little wrinkle. This is obviously after Mack has spent the last month or so telling everyone, no, I'm planning on being back next year. And nobody's really come to his aid on that in the athletic department, saying, yeah, we're planning on having Mack back. And that silence probably spoke volumes. And then, as we've talked about for years on this show, Mike, honestly, can you believe that this is actually being labeled as a firing? Because everything that we understood about Mack Brown and the way that he relates to the whole booster corps and everything else going on up there in Chapel Hill, this never felt like this was going to be a proper firing. This was going to be some sort of step down, retirement, send off, last ride kind of thing. And instead, it's a little bit less ceremonious than that.
From what I understand, this is of informed knowledge. From what I understand, there was a conversation that took place between Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director at North Carolina, and Mack Brown, where they were trying to amicably separate, right? So that would be like you're kind of alluding to. Not really a firing, not really a formal retirement for Mack Brown where he's like, yeah, I'm walking away from football for good, but more of like, I'm stepping aside. I don't feel like I'm the right guy to lead the program anymore. I love North Carolina, yada, yada, yada. They did not come to that agreement in the meetings they had. So you had kind of a little bit of a public back and forth, right? You had Mack Brown coming out in his press conference yesterday, as we record here Tuesday night, came out in his Monday press conference and said, no, I'll be the coach next year. I plan on coaching. When asked if he would retire, nope, plan on coaching. Have to have the conversation with Bubba Cunningham, though. He was already having those conversations with Bubba Cunningham, and he was trying to get out ahead of it, is what this was. This was kind of like put your foot down. I don't think Bubba Cunningham liked that very much. So they just kind of said, you know what, we're going to wash our hands of this. But I think what Bubba Cunningham acknowledges is that Mack Brown did a pretty good job getting this team to a bowl game this year after they had the quarterback injury of Max Johnson at the beginning of the year. You know, Carolina was in a really, really rough place there in mid-October. Obviously, Carolina had won 3 straight games to make a bowl game prior to last weekend's blowout loss to Boston College. But when you're down 41-7 to that Boston College team with Grayson James essentially starting like his second or third career game, like in total, yeah, I mean that's kind of tough to come back from, especially considering how Carolina had looked leading up to it. I mean, we talked about on this podcast how Carolina had been trending in a better direction, playing better football. Second half of the season really started to feel like they were putting a little something together, playing a little bit better defensively. Offense seemed to be finding an identity with Jacoby Criswell, quarterback. Just felt like they were in a better spot. And obviously, Amarian Hampton is really good, but it felt like the passing game was like starting to get a little bit better. And then they just lay a total egg against BC. It was just a no-show performance. And this is kind of the end result, right? It's like, well, you've been kind of treading water a little bit here the last couple seasons. Recruiting, which was a big part of the early in the second tenure for Mack Brown. The recruiting was a piece that was talked about a lot because he was putting together a bunch of really good recruiting classes. That's kind of tailed off a little bit, and now Carolina finds himself for the 2025 recruiting class. According to 247 Sports, it's like a class ranked in the 70s right now, so it's not what the standard has been for Mack Brown at Carolina. So you have the on-field product suffering, recruiting's not going very well. It was just kind of time, man. He's 73. He's 6 seasons in. It's not getting any better, like you mentioned. The product's getting worse. Mack, I think, got the program into a better spot. I think we can all acknowledge that. They're in a better spot now than when he took over, for sure. But also, I think there are probably better coaches at this point to lead Carolina now that Mack has gotten this program kind of back to level ground where they're in a good spot with NIL. They have a bunch of money invested in the football program. A lot of interest in this in the athletics doing well at North Carolina in the athletic department. They can probably do a little bit better than Mack Brown at this stage, but that's not to say that he didn't do a good job getting it back to where they need to be.
Mike, I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. We were texting and have really enjoyed having Devin Hamilton in the comments this year. That was something that was brought up.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that Devin Hamilton already commented something that I was going to bring up, which was that Mack Brown's tenure here is the best head coaching tenure that North Carolina has seen since the last Mack Brown head coaching tenure at North Carolina. It's odd to me thinking about this job in particular because there's a lot of reason to think that there is upside here, right? Like there are ways to succeed. There is some financial backing. You're in pretty good geography. I mean, the state of North Carolina's got a pretty decent talent base there.
Yeah, good football there.
You're the flagship, all this stuff. There's no objective, like obvious blaring reason that I can see that this is not a place that somebody can win. And yet there is this kind of lengthy history of struggling to succeed. And I don't know what that is, but clearly Mack is the one that has figured out the best version of how to, the best version of this North Carolina program in a long time. And so that's the thing that I kind of wrestle with here is like, yeah, I mean, it hasn't been awesome under Mack Brown, but at the same time, it's been better under him than anyone else recently. And are
Yeah.
they hiring the wrong people, or is there something a little bit more, I don't know, broken, but like something that you're working against on a regular basis there that we don't know, we don't see? Like I don't know. It's kind of curious to see, and I think some of the immediate there is an interesting wrinkle to this as well. I think that North Carolina now is the first open Power Four head coaching job, which it is ridiculously late in the cycle for all 70 whatever power conference coaching jobs to still be full, but they all were up until this morning. And so North Carolina now out in front looking for a head coach. I heard it mentioned, I think Cover 3 talked about it this morning, and they mentioned that this is the clear G5 head coaching candidate for any of these major jobs right now is John Summerall, who is at Tulane.
Yeah.
And he was previously, was it South Alabama or Troy? He was one of those, right?
Summerall before, you mean before Tulane?
Before Tulane, yeah.
He was at Troy.
He was at Troy. Okay. So he's a guy who's ascending quickly. He's highly thought of. And I think the idea was, well, maybe you get out in front of this and you go get him in a year where you're one of a few open power conference jobs and you look that much more attractive. So we'll see. But if it's not him at that point, I don't know. And
yeah,
I think we talked about, we've got enough to talk about tonight that we don't need to hammer on this particular story and kind of speculate and all that, what comes next too much tonight. That's something I think we'll probably talk about next week with the preview for the ACC championship game. I'll be a little surprised if North Carolina announces something before then, but some of the timing, I also wonder, do they have something a little bit lined up by now? I mean,
yeah, it makes you wonder. It's kind of weird timing, right? It's kind of weird timing. It's like if you're going to do this, why didn't you do it after NC State? It does make you wonder a little bit. The one thing I'll say too, and I'm real curious about this in terms of like candidate pool, is, and this has been a question with some jobs across college football lately with NIL and head coaches really trying to decide, like, do we want to continue to do this, right? Guys who are kind of at max stage of the career, we talked about with Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, like, do they continue to want to do this? Chip Kelly leaving UCLA to be an offensive coordinator, like, he didn't want to be a head coach, he just wanted to coach ball, right? Okay, fine. I have kind of a similar question with some offensive and defensive coordinators at the P5. Like, is Carolina, I know Carolina is an attractive job in college football because there is a lot of money there, like, as far as like an ACC job. But if you're like a P5 coordinator at a really good school, is Carolina that good of a job that you want to be the head coach there at a primarily basketball school? Is it that good of a job that you're gonna, like Schumann, like for example, Schumann at Georgia, right? Is this a job that he would be interested in?
And this is where you and I talk about this job seems desirable. There's money. Seems like there's some resources, some support, that kind of thing. But then at some point you have to look and say, well, Larry Fedora did okay at the start and then kind of struggled, and Butch Davis struggled to really get them over the top. And there's a long enough track record that it makes you think maybe it wasn't just one guy's fault. Like maybe there is something there that you're working against. I don't know.
Right.
But there's a lot of these things that I think you would have to be considering as a potential head coaching candidate. But especially for a guy like a Schumann or any other coordinator types where
Travis
maybe you haven't
Williams at Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, maybe where you haven't been a head coach before. This maybe isn't a bad first head coaching gig. Again, you got some money and you got some support, and it's a reasonably big time job in the ACC. Something to think about for sure.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be after Summerall. I still feel like if like Mark Stoops were to retire, which I'm not even sure he's going to do, that's like a rumor, but like if he's going to retire, I feel like Summerall is just going to go take the Kentucky job because he was one of the first people they called when they thought Stoops was leaving for A&M. So I think Summerall will just go take the Kentucky job, but I don't think he's going to wait for it to open either. So I could see him taking UNC, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yep, we will see. Anything else right now on the North Carolina job opening?
No, not at the moment. We'll see what the candidate pool looks like. I would be pretty surprised also if they hired a new coach before the next time we record. Well, I don't know about the recap, but next time we record a preview for the ACC title game, I'm with you. I would be pretty surprised if they hired a new coach, but the timing is a little peculiar. It makes you wonder if they've been doing some back channeling, trying to figure some stuff out. So I don't know.
I will say that, I mean, the clear and obvious reason to do it now and not to wait another week or so is you give Mack the send-off game at home, and I do think you're firing him, but I think the intent is still to celebrate him and his tenure and what he's done and all this stuff. And so I think doing it ahead of the final home game gives you a chance to do that. What we will talk about later in the show is, does this motivate the players or does this demotivate the players? No spoilers on that. We'll talk about that later.
Yes. I'm not showing my cards yet.
There you go. Mike, anything else you want to talk about with week 13?
Just the playoff rankings real quick.
Yeah.
We don't need to dive like real deep, but I found it interesting. So Miami is sitting at 6. This is just in regard to the ACC. Miami's sitting at 6. SMU sitting at 9. Clemson is sitting at 12. So Clemson is essentially the first team out because the Big 12 champion gets in, and the highest ranked Big 12 team right now is Arizona State sitting at 16, right? So Clemson is essentially like the first team out of the college football playoff as it stands currently. My takeaway on that is that obviously I think Clemson would put themselves in pretty good position if they were to beat South Carolina this weekend, but they would still obviously not, unless Miami finds a way to blow it to Syracuse, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Clemson, I think, would still need some help even if they beat South Carolina. And I really don't see 3 ACC teams getting in. I don't. It's same with like a 3-loss SEC team. I don't really see it unless there's a lot going on in front in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think what's more likely is if Miami or SMU were to get blown out of the conference title game, say Miami wins this weekend, goes to the ACC championship game, goes to Charlotte, plays SMU, either one of those teams blows out the other, I think that's when Clemson slides into the field. Like, I think that's the most logical thing to happen.
Like wins by at least 24 or something. I mean,
we're talking like a non-competitive game. I think otherwise Clemson probably needs some help. Still, I really don't see it. I don't see the path really to get 3 ACC teams in. I would be surprised.
I'm going to say something, and I hate that I'm going to say it, but I do think it's something to consider, is if Clemson beats South Carolina on Saturday, do they have a better at-large resume than what is currently at number 10, Indiana, who is almost certainly going to obliterate Purdue and be 11-1? Would 10-2 Clemson with a win over South Carolina and having gone 7-1 in the ACC, would they have a better resume? Who on Indiana's schedule is a better win than South Carolina? Again, I hate that I'm saying this, but you have to think about it this way on some level. I hate it for Indiana. I hate it so much. They deserve it.
I hate it for them. I hate it for them too. But there's not a win on Indiana's schedule that's even close to South Carolina. And
yeah,
man, the one loss Big Ten team is not being left out, right?
You would think not. You would think not.
Now, What if Clemson blows the doors off of South Carolina? Everybody's talking highly of South Carolina right now. What if Clemson were to beat South Carolina by like 21 points?
That's an impressive statement win for sure, right?
Is Clemson beating South Carolina in a singular game, the number 15 team in the country, by like 21 points? Is that confirmation that 3-loss South Carolina really wasn't that good and they just kind of got hot? Or is that more, hey, that's a really impressive win for Clemson? Is that 3-touchdown win over South Carolina better than any of Indiana's 2-touchdown wins that they've had all year? Because they're going to beat Purdue by more than 2 touchdowns. So essentially, they would have beaten every team in every single one of their games, with the exception of Michigan and obviously the game they lost against Ohio State. And 10 of the 11 wins in that scenario, Indiana would have won by 2 or more scores in 10 of their 11 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Is that more impressive, or is beating South Carolina by like 3 scores more impressive at home? I don't know. That's for the committee to answer. I don't think they're only going to leave one loss Indiana out. That would be very surprising to me.
I think it's a little bit of a Rorschach test of what do you think of South Carolina. And me personally, I don't think that this is like some smoke and mirrors, have gotten lucky a couple times winning streak that they're on. I think South Carolina's rounding into form looks pretty good right now. The way that they're able to win games,
Texas
defense,
A&M like that.
So yeah, for what that's worth, I'm put it to this way, and I'm going to try not to spoil too much. I don't think it's going to be a problem for Indiana.
I don't either. We'll talk about the Clemson game later.
We will. Good on the playoff, Mike?
I am. Let's move on to games. We got a lot of them.
Last thing on the playoff. Miami-SMU both win this weekend. Both go to Charlotte at 11-1. Both are in the playoff. Like you said, unless one of them loses by like 30 in Charlotte or something just egregious. The committee has stated that they place emphasis and value, and a lot of it, on making your conference championship game. If that's the case, both of these teams get to Charlotte with 1 loss. Short of being embarrassed, you are in the playoff, and if not, I will riot. So just wanted to get that out there for while we're talking about it.
Sharpen the pitchforks just in case.
Yeah, well, thankfully, this playoff has always been about the most deserving teams, right, Florida State?
Well,
let's look back at our locks
State
from week 13.
the thing about Florida State is we don't need to worry about that this year.
Well, yeah, we're not concerned about such things in Tallahassee right now. We've got bigger problems to deal with. Yeah. So anyways,
they only have one FBS win since last time.
That's right.
We spoke about them in a playoff context. So
yeah, been a long 12 months.
Yeah,
for the Noles, I would imagine. Once again, that was the Rhoback Lookback. As a reminder, use promo code GOACC20 at checkout for 20% off your first order at Rhoback.com. Let's take one last look at our locks from last week, Mike. It was a 1-1 week for your boy. I had Miami minus the 24 that was looking real bad for a while, and then once again, Miami got there in the fourth quarter, so that was nice. And then I lost on the Virginia Tech Duke under 47.5. You also had that Virginia Tech Duke under 47.5. You had over 64.5 in Miami Wake Forest. And you had Bowling Green minus the 12. And I think the judge's decision is that the Mack lock does count for the standings this year.
Guess who the judge was? The judge was me. I've been hammering. Yeah. I've been banging that drum all year long on the win total. We have to count it. I said it with such conviction. I called it the lock of the... I know I wasn't on the podcast, but I texted you guys, it's the lock of the year, and it came home easily. It has to count.
They won by like 25 points or something like that. I mean, that wasn't even close. That wasn't a sweat.
No, not competitive, no. Didn't even sweat a little bit.
You went 1-2 on the week. Scott, producer's pick of the week. Mike, Scott is on a heater. Okay?
He is. Yeah, he is. He's got a sick one this week.
Yeah, he does. Boston College plus the 3 last week. Came in... I am 13-15 on the year. You are 16-17, now back under 500. And Scott now at 4-2-1 on the producer's pick of the week. I mean, you got to just trail Scott right now, okay? Like,
Yep.
he's the guy to follow on this podcast at the moment.
Yep, I'm with you.
Mike, we got 11 games this week. Do you want to start previewing them?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's start on Friday. We're going to do the 2 Friday games first off the top, and then we'll get into the Saturday games, and I'll get a little bit more into the order on that when we get there. Let's start at 4 o'clock on CBS on Friday, November the 29th, as the Stanford Cardinal on the road at San Jose State. Stanford's a 3-point underdog here. Total's 55.5. San Jose State, not particularly good. Stanford also not particularly good. I'm a little surprised that Stanford's an underdog here, Mike. Are you? I mean, I wouldn't expect him to be a big favorite, but maybe favored by 3, not underdog by 3.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose State's a bowl team, but also San Jose State is playing football in the Mountain West Conference, right? So, like, San Jose State coming into this game 6-5 and being a short home favorite still can be a little bit surprising, right? Given what they've done this year. They've got some pretty bad losses. Like, anytime they've played a competitive team, they've gotten absolutely smoked. They've lost each of their last 2 games against Boise State and UNLV. Neither game was really all that competitive. UNLV got some separation there against San Jose State in the second half. Boise State really just put them to sleep in the second half. That was an Ashton Genty masterclass. That third and fourth quarter really wore them down. They got a 23-point loss to Fresno. I mean, I think arguably San Jose State's best game of the year was a 2-point loss and an absolute banger back in September against Washington State. That was a late night special. That game was fantastic.
Game was wild.
Yeah, that's probably their best game of the year, honestly, and just given what Washington State is this year. I am also a little bit surprised Stanford is not favored. I think out of principle, I'm just going to take Stanford plus the 3, even though they're 3-8 on the year. They've lost some game. I mean, we talked about it on the recap a couple nights ago. They've lost a couple really tough games this year, and I don't think 3-8 is necessarily totally indicative of what kind of team they are. I think they're probably more like a fringe bowl team than like traditional 3-8. They've lost some really close games, and there are some second halves of these games that they're certainly like to have back. I mean, a 3-point loss to Wake. You lose by a touchdown in the opener to TCU. That Cal loss. I mean, you could very well have been playing for a bowl game this week. So I'm going to take Stanford plus 3. I don't know if they win. I think it'll be a tight game. San Jose State is not fantastic. They're not awful either. Stanford has done enough to give a lot of these games away. I think San Jose State will be right there to take it from them at home. But yeah, Stanford plus the 3, I think, is the right play here.
Yeah. Ken Niumatalolo, by the way, formerly of Navy, the head coach at San Jose State of the Spartans.
Totally different offense, by the way. Totally different offense.
Crazy how option coaches at service academies can run non-total option offenses at other jobs. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Give me Stanford outright here. I think Stanford wins this game. And again, like you said, Stanford, the record doesn't look good, but they've been competitive, and I think they're continuing to play hard. I don't think they're going to just like let go of the rope here and say screw it, season's over. Like, let's just go home. Especially this game's still in the Bay Area, like it's really not that far from Palo Alto. They should have a decent showing there from whatever crowd they get. I'm sure. I think Stanford can find a way to win this one, finish the season on a high note, go into the offseason feeling good about themselves. I think that's on the table. So give me the Cardinal to go in here and win.
Yeah, that I have as much opinion on this as you can about a 3-8 Stanford team against San Jose State, like a middle of the road team in the Mountain West.
I mean, Mike, I know that you watch every San Jose State game from start to finish, so I trust your opinion here.
Yeah, I am locked in. They are always on a secondary screen for me.
Right. Yeah. Can't miss the Spartans and
no.
Kenny Niumatalolo.
Probably watch more of them than Michigan State this year for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Total's 55.5. Pass.
No idea.
No clue. Yeah. That could go 2 touchdowns under or over, and nothing would surprise me.
Nothing would surprise me either. Let's stay on that one.
Stanford for the both of us. I've got them outright, and we'll see how that goes. Go Cardinal.
I guess.
Yeah, why not? 7:30 on ABC. My Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on the road in Athens, taking on the number 7 Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia Tech, a 19.5-point underdog in this game. Totals 53.5. Mike, this is clean old-fashioned hate. They play it for the Governor's Cup. If Georgia Tech wins, there will very likely be property damage to the hedges there in Athens, which, you get what you get if you lose to Georgia Tech. If you're Georgia. It just comes with the territory. Georgia Tech has lost 6 in a row in this series, but I will mention that last year it was just an 8-point game. And if memory serves, there were only about 5 minutes left in this game. Georgia Tech had the ball down 8 with the ball and a chance to go down and tie the game. So this is a competitive game last year. The year before that, Brent Key, wildly undermanned team at that point, and they found a way to make Georgia earn it. It was pretty close, I think, at halftime. Georgia pulled away in the second half, but this is a game, Mike, that clearly Georgia Tech cares a whole hell of a lot about, and they will draw up some kind of crazy game plans, and they will pull out all the stops and do everything that they have to do to find a way to give themselves a chance to win this game. And it's interesting to me for Brent Key in particular as a guy who's coaching Georgia Tech. He knows the history of this series, knows what Georgia's doing in Athens, knows that you are constantly going to be a massive underdog. And that dude not only does not shy away from it, he steers right into it. And he talks about how this is the most important game of the year. And they talk about this game all the time, and it is crushing to lose this game. And he doesn't downplay it at all. And again, he steers into it. And I think that's kind of cool. Analysis on this particular rendition. Couple things. One, I think there's kind of 2 keys to this game. And it is, what Carson Beck are we going to get from Georgia? Mm-hmm. Because I think if Carson Beck is sharp and looks engaged and is kind of seeing the matrix, I don't know if Georgia Tech has a chance here. Mm-hmm. If Carson Beck comes out and throws 3 interceptions and looks sloppy as he has for healthy portions of this season, Georgia Tech might be in business. And then I question if Georgia Tech can move the ball. And we made the jokes about UMass running for 226 yards last week. UMass against the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens. UMass ran for 226 yards on the ground. Georgia Tech, again, has been a little bit uneven running the ball in recent weeks. They ran it well against Miami. They did not run it well at all against NC State. Who the hell knows what's going to work or what won't here this weekend against Georgia. But if Georgia Tech is able to run the ball and sustain drives and I think do somewhat the same thing they did against Miami and kind of shorten the game and limit the possessions, between that and if Carson Beck is a little bit sloppy, Georgia Tech has a chance here. And if they can't run the ball and if Carson Beck is sharp, they're not going to cover this 19.5-point spread.
Give me Georgia.
Wow.
Laying them. I don't see Aaron Philo. I like him. I made it clear. I said on the recap, I think he's really good. I think you let Zach Pyron go and let him be the backup. If Haynes King walks and ends up somewhere else for a lot of money, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world if Aaron Philo is your quarterback next year. I think it would be fine. I've made all those statements. I really like him. He's a freshman going up against this Georgia pass rush and this Georgia secondary. I know Georgia's defense has done a little bit of this year. I don't love this for Philo here. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned, too, about Georgia Tech's ability to run the football. Georgia's rushing defense, for the most part this year, has been fine. It's hard to take UMass seriously, like it is. And they fired Don Brown. Like, it's an interim coach. It's hard to really get up for that game. I think Georgia's defense will play better here. I think Georgia Tech's best games running the football have been when Haynes King was healthy. It's harder now, like with him out of the lineup, and you lose that element of the quarterback run game that has been so integral to everything they've been doing. It's a little bit easier to key in on Jamal Haynes when it's Aaron Philo back there versus Haynes King.
Mm-hmm.
That's another concern I have on Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech will be in this game. I don't think it's a situation where like Georgia Tech rolls over and gets blown out. I worry about short field turnovers. I worry about inability to run the ball. And then I think even if Carson Beck's just like moderately locked in, I think they have a chance to be in position to cover.
Mm-hmm.
But all that being said, your Beck point is well taken. Like, Carson Beck is the reason why I don't think Georgia is a true national title contender. I don't care what the books say. I know Georgia's got like the second shortest odds to win the national championship. I don't think Carson Beck is consistent enough for Georgia to win the title. I think he's got to get hot. I just haven't really seen it this year yet. Doesn't seem like he's that focused. It's been 2 good games, 1 horrible game, really, for most of the season. Just look at the stats. But is Georgia Tech's defense going to get after him and make him pay here, right? Or is Georgia going to be able to run the ball? I don't think Trevor Etienne's playing here. I think he's still hurt. Georgia's got a few other running backs that seem to be getting healthier. Is Georgia going to be able to run the ball and set things up for Beck in the passing game? And then is Beck going to have to throw enough for it to matter, I think, right? Like, if Georgia Tech's able to bottle up the run and make Beck put the ball in the air 40 times, yeah, they might pick off a couple, right? And I think that's where this gets competitive. I just worry about true freshmen in this game on the road in Athens. I have a really, really hard time getting behind that, even though Beck is a little bit of a mixed bag, doesn't always give opponents their full attention. I think given how this game went last year, I think they'll take it a little bit more seriously. Also, like, Brent Key does get Georgia Tech up for big games. Like, he does. This is what he does. It's the games that don't matter that you have to worry about with Brent Key. It's not games like this. Like, they come ready to play for these types of matchups. So that's just something to note. And 19.5 is a lot of points, but a true freshman going into Athens, I want no part of that. No, thank you. No thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Your point about Georgia's offense. Can Georgia Tech stop Georgia's rushing offense? I'd say maybe 50-50 on that, if not maybe a little bit better. Georgia's not been that good and that consistent at running the ball. I think my bigger concern is if part of the game of getting Carson Beck to have a sloppy game is getting pressure to him, I am not convinced that Georgia Tech's defense can do that against that offensive line, and that's where I don't feel very good about it.
Yeah.
I mentioned 2 keys to the game, being Beck and being Georgia Tech's running game. There's a third key to the game here that I think is also worth noting here, Mike. You know what changed on Saturday night? This past Saturday night?
What would that be?
Georgia's going to Atlanta next weekend.
Yes.
And
yeah, they are.
So I want to mention that because I went on Science of the Southland, From the Rumble Seat podcast. We talked to my guy Jack on Friday after Georgia Tech beat NC State on Thursday. And we talked about this game a little bit, and one of the things I mentioned was, a difference in this game versus the prior 2 years is that the last 2 years, Georgia's been looking ahead to Atlanta, and that's a huge game. They're going to play Alabama, or, they're trying to get in the playoff, the whole thing. This year, they don't have Atlanta to worry about. They're not going to the SEC championship game. Well, surprise, yes, they are. And so next week, they get the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. And so, again, that's just another little element of you wonder, is there full focus on this game? Probably, but who knows? Give me Georgia Tech and give me the under. I think this is Georgia 31-17, something like that. Yeah. So 19.5 is a lot of points. And even if I do at this point expect you're going to continue to see this 2 quarterback rotation, probably more so the Aaron Philo show than the Haynes King show. And I don't like 60 minutes of that in Athens, but I think they'll figure something out. I think the game plan will be there. I think this team is going to play their asses off regardless of what it says on the scoreboard. So
Yeah.
give me Georgia Tech in the under. I think this is a little bit lower scoring than that 53.5. And I like Georgia Tech to find a way to keep this inside of 3 touchdowns, basically.
Fair enough. I am not going to be betting on this, so this isn't like Georgia with a hell of a lot of conviction. It's just I don't love the prospect of a true freshman going to Athens. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly about this to the point that I would be putting any of my own money on it. Although our guy producer Scott did say money line sprinkle on Georgia Tech, so shout out to Scott on that. Hell yeah, let's go. All right, Georgia Tech in the under for me. Mike with Georgia laying the points. That preview, Mike, brought to you by section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Wonderful t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, things for men, women, children, something for the whole family, something for babies. Any Georgia Tech fan in your life, they need something from section103.com. Once again, use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. They got NIL shirts, jerseys for Haynes King, Zach Pyron, Eric Singleton. They've got stuff for the basketball team, the volleyball team, the baseball team. They've got all sorts of Tech Tradition shirts. The Juniors Grill shirt looks good. They've got the Drown Proofing George P. Burdell shirt is a new addition to the arsenal there. Go check it all out. Once again, section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Steven and the gang. Appreciate their support as always. I will be wearing my Section 103 for this game. I'm wearing it right now. I got a beautiful performance shirt. It's got the Ramblin' Wreck on there. Check that out.
Hell yeah.
Looks good, comfy, high quality stuff. Official word marks, official Tech Gold, all that stuff. It's all really, really good at section103.com. Once again, promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Tell them that we sent you. Shout out to Steven. Appreciate their support as always.
Yep, shout out Steven.
Quickly, Will Secor asks what the good word is. The good word is to hell with Georgia. How about them dogs? Piss on them.
Okay.
Let's move on to Saturday.
Moving on.
Saturday, November the 30th. We got 9 games on Saturday. We will go through these. We've been doing most of these in chronological order. We are going to do these slightly out of order just to kind of continue with this ACC SEC challenge. We got 3 more of these games we'll hit on. 2 of them are in the noon window, so it's really not a big deal. As a reminder, use hashtag GoACCMOTW to submit award nominations to us on Twitter, Blue Sky, email, smoke signal, whatever you got throughout the day. We would appreciate that, and it's helpful having more eyes on it than just our own. So send us your nominations as these games are going.
Yes.
We start at noon on ESPN. The number 12 Clemson Tigers at home taking on the number 15 South Carolina Gamecocks. Mike, it's the Palmetto Bowl. Clemson a 2.5-point home favorite. Totals 49.5. That is a small spread. Clemson has won 8 of 9, but lost the last time they played this game in Death Valley 2 years ago. South Carolina has been hot lately. They have played kind of giant killer. I will say they have played exceptionally well at home, so that's worth noting that this is a road game and they have really thrived in that home environment. I am nervous about Clemson's chances here, Mike, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I am too. Clemson has not played a game like this since the opener. This is the best team they've played since they played Georgia, in my opinion. I think South Carolina is better than Louisville by a lot, and Clemson really hasn't faced anybody else on their schedule since they played Georgia that's really in the same neighborhood as Louisville, or in this case, it's South Carolina. So I'm concerned about this. Clemson kind of made it through the tough part of their schedule, really only losing to Louisville, but they were kind of not that competitive at home against Louisville.
Yeah.
They didn't play very well. And, they beat Virginia Tech in a slog in Blacksburg, a bad Virginia Tech team, and Clemson really struggled to gain separation there. And then at Pitt, they were probably pretty fortunate to win that game, and then they played the Citadel. And it just makes you wonder, and I talked about this early in the schedule. It felt like this Clemson team was somewhere between the 2020 version of Clemson that was the last college football playoff team, and the teams we've seen the last couple of years where okay, yeah, they go 10-2 or 9-3, but it feels like they were just sliding by in a bunch of their games. It doesn't really feel like that this year. It feels like they've gained separation in the games where they should. But also, like, their schedule hasn't been incredibly crazy. So
Woke Furby, what is Clemson's best win, and was it against a backup quarterback?
Oh, Nate Yarnell. Yeah. I'm on South Carolina. I have no reason really to feel extremely comfortable in picking Clemson in this spot at home as a short home favorite. Clemson's been playing good football against bad opponents, and good opponents have either beaten them or dragged them into the mud. So that makes me nervous about this one. South Carolina is one of the hottest teams in the country, and maybe this is just maybe it's a little bit of a trap. Maybe it's a momentum game here, and this is something we'll come to regret when we recap the games on Saturday night. But I think I'm rolling with the Gamecocks here. I really don't think we need to worry about 3 teams from the ACC in the college football playoff. I was feeling pretty good about Clemson making it in like mid-October, but then they laid an egg against Louisville, and I think they're pretty fortunate to be in a situation where they're like the first team out of the field right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty fortunate. They might backdoor their way into the bracket, but you got to win this one, and I'm not sure they're going to win this one.
Yeah.
Give me South Carolina. I think they're going to struggle with Lenora Sellers and his legs and the dual threat at quarterback. And I think they're really going to struggle with the pressure that South Carolina puts on you with their defense. Really good defensive line. Clemson's offensive line has been really banged up. It sounds like they're getting Tristan Lee back, their starting left tackle. But what is he going to look like? He hasn't played in over a month. I have questions about Clemson's ability to block South Carolina's front here. There's just too many questions with the offensive line for Clemson. How's Klubnik going to look against a real defense? Just too many thoughts running through my mind here. I think Clemson's defense is going to have to play an incredible game to keep him in it. Give me South Carolina. I like him outright with some confidence. Maybe South Carolina by a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Give me South Carolina. Lock it up.
Oh.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up.
Oh, we're on loop tonight. All right, very good.
Nice.
Good. Yeah, just run it twice. Why not?
Yeah.
Clemson's offense. When's the last time that they looked good against a defense with a pulse? Because I'm not sure that it's happened this year.
Have they played? I was going to say, have they played a defense with a pulse and looked good? I don't know who's the best defense they played where they looked like they had a pulse.
I mean, they ran up 59 points on NC State early in the year, but that was when NC State's defense looked terrible.
Yeah, you're all over it. Yep.
And then they ran up 40 points on Stanford. And I don't think Stanford's defense is like awful, but at the time it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, you ran up scores on Wake Forest and Virginia, which is not really anything to write home about. You didn't look good against Louisville. You didn't look good. It took quite a while against Virginia Tech. You didn't look all that convincing after the first quarter against Pitt.
You didn't finish drives against Florida State in a game that, I mean, that's not like a game where they were ever going to lose, but I mean, they didn't cover the 17 or whatever it was because they dicked around the red zone.
You could maybe make an argument that Florida State belongs here, but this is the best defense that they have played since Georgia, by far. And I think this offense, again, it looked really good for the first half of the season, and then I think they started playing defenses that are a little bit more live, and you've started to see some true colors of Clemson's offense that it's really not that good. And this South Carolina defense, there's also mentioned, by the way, Clemson might have some offensive line injuries, and you might have some backups in there instead of starters. Not that offensive line has been dominant to begin with, and you're telling me they don't have their best personnel out there for this game against a ferocious pass rush from South Carolina. I don't like where this is going for Clemson at all. I understand that you're at home, and there's some voodoo in this matchup, this rivalry, but I don't like it for Clemson.
What if... I don't think this is the case, but what if the last month or so has been because they've been so banged up front? I think if we come out of this on Saturday and Clemson wins this game by like a couple scores or something, we're going to be like, oh, okay, they got healthier on the offensive line. They haven't been healthy on the offensive line for about a month. And you're seeing a strong correlation in offense performance to how injured they were on their offensive line versus like, okay, now it looks like they might be a little healthier. They play better. Okay, like maybe that was a bigger piece of it than we gave credit for. I don't think that's the case, but I think it's something to monitor if Clemson comes out with most of their personnel up front and they look better. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a valid point. Valid point.
So
I'm on South Carolina outright. I'm just gonna go plus the 2.5 for the purposes of this lock. Total 49.5. I'm gonna go under. I think this is a lower scoring game, but part of that might be like this might be like a 28-10 kind of game or something. And I will say, I mean, South Carolina's offense I would say largely predicated on the run, but Lenore Sellers has started looking pretty good throwing the ball the last few weeks too. So they've kind of got multiple dimensions, multiple ways to beat you. So I do think Clemson's defense will play well here, but I don't think that the offense is going to be able to do enough to kind of keep up here. So yeah, I think this is lower scoring than the 49.5 number. So give me South Carolina and give me the under.
no opinion on the total. I think you could go a number of different directions.
There you go. All right. Carolina outright for the both of us. I've got Carolina plus 2.5 locked up, and I've got the under. And we move on. Also at noon on the SEC Network, Louisville, a 4-point favorite on the road in Lexington, taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. Totals 48.5. They play it for the Governor's Cup. Mike, Kentucky has won 5 in a row in this series. And as I said on the recap, I got to see it from Louisville. I have to. Honestly, Kentucky has looked bad for a lot of this year. They do not move the ball well at all. Louisville, by all means, should be better. But again, this is a Louisville team on the road that has been highly inconsistent. They have the propensity to make some really dumb mistakes in bad situations. Not a chance. I am picking Louisville. Give me Kentucky to win this game on the field. I'll take Kentucky money line here, and I'm tempted to lock up Kentucky +4 as well.
Kentucky's starting a true freshman at quarterback in this game.
Oh yeah,
They're
they
benching
benched.
They benched Vandegrift.
For what that's worth.
Yeah, they benched Vandegrift. So I am a little less confident in it than you are, but I am also on Kentucky +4 because of just the principle of it. I need to see it, and maybe it's oversimplifying things. Kentucky has been bad. Louisville has not been consistent, though, and they haven't played well in this particular game. And I think Louisville's the better team this year. That's the thing, but I got to see it. So I'm on the Kentucky side as well, and it's not very good reasoning, right? You're starting a true freshman quarterback. You are at home. I don't know how much that benefit. I think that benefits you a little bit more as a freshman quarterback, right, versus going on the road and having this be first start rivalry game. Against an SEC defense. Yeah, Kentucky has been bad this year, though, because of their offense. Their offense has been bad. Like, they haven't they've been trying to figure out if Vandegrift's the guy. They've been cycling him out a little bit, and they haven't really fully pulled away the reins until now. So now they're like, all right, we know Vandegrift's not the guy. We're going to figure out if we have somebody else in the room next year or if we got to go in the portal and get somebody. That's the question they're going to try to answer because they're not going to make a bowl game. But I worry about Louisville's offense a little bit here going up against this Kentucky defense because, again, like Louisville's offense, they played well against Clemson. Like they looked really, really good in that game, right? But I look at some of the other results this year, and I'm just like, what other defense have they played other than Clemson? And that was like by far Louisville's best performance this year offensively, like given the caliber of opponent they've played. Like that Notre Dame game's a little deceiving because they were getting kind of run out of the stadium in that game, and they came storming back late. but that offense was held down for a while in that game in South Bend. Like that wasn't a game that was really competitive until the fourth quarter. And obviously, all of a sudden it was like, oh, Louisville's like, they got some late scores. There's some momentum. Let's get this onside kick and see if we can go down and tie the game.
Yeah.
I just question Louisville's ability to really move the ball consistently against Kentucky here. That's my concern. Yeah. So give me the Wildcats. I do think Louisville's a better team, but I got to see it.
Mm-hmm. Outright or just plus the 4 for Kentucky?
Plus the 4. Yeah, plus the 4. I'm far less confident in it. Just starting a freshman quarterback. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm not going to overcomplicate this, honestly, and I don't want to talk about this too much longer, but again, Kentucky's won this game 5 times in a row. Why do I feel like Louisville was favored in like 3 of those games? Yeah. Right? Like we can find ways to convince ourselves every year, oh, this is the year that Louisville's going to break the streak and they're going to retake control of the series. You got to show me, Louisville. You got to show me. So until you do that, Kentucky outright, and I would be up for putting a couple bucks on what is probably Kentucky plus 135 or something like that. I don't know.
Better you than me.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe a sprinkle on the money line, but I'm not betting this with any sense of confidence now.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Kentucky for the both of us. I've got them outright, but yeah, Mike got them plus the 4. Total 48.5. If anything under, but I'm not going to make a pick on that.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Let's do the last game of the ACC SEC Challenge. It's at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. It is the Florida State Seminoles at home hosting the Florida Gators. Florida State, a 14.5-point underdog at home, totals 45.5. It is the Sunshine Showdown. It is played for the McCullough Trophy, I'm going to assume it's McCullough as like a Native American tribe thing, and not like Mackala as in like the Redneck Riviera of Florida, but anything's possible. They also kind of play this for the Florida Cup, which is technically between these two teams and Miami, but I think Miami, having beaten both of these teams this year, has already locked up said Florida Cup. So for what that's worth, Mike, Florida State being underdogs by 14.5 points, you know what that means? We can pick someone else. It's fine. They don't have to be.
Don't do this to me. Yeah, we can't. For purposes, I respect home field too much. Can we do another one?
That's fair.
All right. Let's do another one.
We can. Yeah, because I'm not picking Florida State in this game. Give me Florida. I think Florida's kind of rolling here, and Florida State cannot get done with this season fast enough. I think they are so done here. I don't even know what the crowd for this game is going to look like. A horrible situation. Florida's had their problems, but has started to look a lot better in the last month or so. I think Florida going to come in motivated. They're bowl eligible, probably going to try to play for even better bowl positioning. Give me the Gators. I'm going to lay them.
Yeah, Florida's a good example of not all 5 lost teams are created equal. Like UVA, Virginia, and UVA, Virginia Tech, and Florida. What do they have in common? They're all 5 lost teams.
Yeah.
One of them is not like the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're laying it with the Gators. Lock it up.
Yep.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
I feel like this should be Florida minus like 17-ish. I feel like we're getting about a field goal worth of value here. I love the Gators. I will bet it. Put money on it. Love the Gators in this spot. Lagway has been incredible the last few weeks, really coming into his own since coming back from injury. I know he was knocked out of that Georgia game, but he was giving Georgia some problems in that game in early November before he got hurt. Lagway's a stud. I think Florida is going to be a team that is going to be competitive in the SEC next year. I think they're going to take some momentum here and roll it forward. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're probably going to go to like the Gator Bowl or something, and they'll play Lagway and a bunch of their starters, and they'll be favorites there. And yeah, I think all of a sudden we're going to be looking at Florida a lot differently. Yeah, this is potentially an 8-win Florida team out of nowhere. So that's a lot of fun. I had a little inside baseball. I had a pre-written story about Napier getting fired at the end of September that I told you about, Joey. I said, "Oh, we think Napier's getting fired this weekend, by the way, right before the bye week." And give Scott Strickland a lot of credit. Not only did he not pull the trigger, he allowed Napier to coach through it. Napier's hand got a little bit forced on the quarterback change because Graham Mertz got hurt, and all of a sudden he's found a lot of something in prized recruit DJ Lagway, and that might have saved his job.
That dude
might have
can
saved his job.
Go. Yeah.
So,
I bet he did. Florida building some momentum going in, as you mentioned, into bowl season and certainly into next year.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't know who I'm kidding. I'm locking up Florida as well.
Let's go.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
This is Florida like 31-6 or something like that. I mean, what you think Florida State's going to keep it any closer than that?
No.
No.
I will make my first play on a total, by the way. I am on the under here. I think Florida gets some separate. I mean, Lagway's still a freshman. I think Florida gets some separation, and I don't think they like lay it on him, like score 50 points, but I think they lay it on him good enough where it's like not really that competitive and stays under the total. Because I don't know how much Florida State's going to score here. To your point,
Yeah. I like the under here as well. I'll make that a pick as well. All right, Florida locked up and the under for the both of us. And I just want to call out, Mike, that if you think that we are ACC homers, at least I mean, to some degree, both of us have picked a clean sweep for the SEC in these 4 games. And brings us no pleasure, but that's just kind of where we're at this year. So we will, hopefully we're wrong.
You will not be mistaken for an SMU homer, though, as the comments of our YouTube videos are any indication. That's something that nobody will ever think that you are.
So the next time I'm mistaken for an SMU homer will be the first time, I think. So we will we'll see when that happens.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's get through the rest of these conference games. At noon on the ACC network, we got the Duke Blue Devils on the road in Winston-Salem taking on the Wake Forest Steamin' Deeks. Duke is only a 4-point road favorite here. Totals 52.5. Mike, is there? So let me ask you this: is when you see an 8-3 Duke team going to Winston-Salem against a 3-8 Wake team, and they're only a 4-point favorite, is that a someone knows something kind of line, or is that a this tells us what we need to know about 8-3 Duke kind of line?
I think it tells us what we need to know about 8-3 Duke in this particular case. But Joey, before we even get to that, Wake Forest, because you tried to do this to Florida State, we can't. I mean, out of principle, can do it. But because you tried to do this to me, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Wake Forest is our home field home dog of the week. Go to homefieldapparel.com, use promo code GOACC24, 15% off your first order. From Home Field, you and I both own a bunch of Home Field apparel. We are better off for it. Very comfortable. Love their partnership. They've been with us now. What is this, our 3rd season with them?
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal. They've been phenomenal, as in you guys keep buying stuff from them, so they keep re-upping the sponsorship and like sending us free stuff, which we like a lot. Big
Speaking
fan
of
that.
Christmas gifts, that kind of thing coming up, like go there. You need some stuff from there.
Yeah. So we love their partnership. You guys go ahead and keep buying stuff from them, and we'll keep collecting some kickbacks and free gear. We appreciate that a lot. I'm not here to hide anything. No reason to. So shout out to Home Field. Shout out to our listeners as well. You keep supporting us.
You guys are getting great gear out of it, and we appreciate your support and telling them that we're the ones that sent you here. So go do that. Again, those T-shirts, super soft, super comfortable. Bomber jackets, coach jackets, hats, all sorts of cool things there.
Yep, absolutely. You mentioned what does this line tell us? Tells us that 8-3 Duke is one of the worst 8-3 teams in the country.
There it is. Ding, ding, ding.
With that said, Joey, I know that I was laying off the loss a little bit early in this podcast. but I will not be held down any longer. We're going to lock up our second consecutive game. We are laying them with the Blue Devils. Lock it up.
Hello.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
No reason to pick Wake here. What's the reason? Other than it's like a rivalry game in the Triangle. What's the? Or I guess Wake is just outside the Triangle. Whatever, guys. They're an hour away. What's the motivation here?
I think Devin Hamilton's got it.
Have it,
Dave Clawson.
Devin.
The Dave Clawson swan song. That's
you
what we're going for here.
You can have it. You can have it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Clawson's
I'm on.
Clawson's not retiring. He's taking the Carolina job.
Man, you want to talk about a plot twist? That would be a fun one.
Yeah, it would be.
I'm laying them with Duke here. I think they can win this by at least a touchdown. I mean, Wake continues to play hard and such. It's just, I kind of understand why this line is what it is. Now, it's weird to think that if it were in Durham, it would be 8 or 9. At some point, that starts to feel almost like a little too much. But
Yeah.
I'm going to lay them with Duke and think they can win this game by a touchdown to 10 points. Just the way things have gone for Wake this year, the way that Duke has found a way to continue to win games and put some margin on teams at times. I don't know how repeatable it is. I don't know how much it's enjoyable to watch, but they find a way to do it. Did you see the story about Malik Murphy and the internal discipline that he faces, by the way?
Yeah, so he flipped up the double bird after one of his, I think it was the first long touchdown pass he had against Virginia Tech, RIP, to Eli Pankel. And he flipped the double bird to his offensive coordinator in the booth. And that was because during practice, during the week, I guess, Malik Murphy was missing on a bunch of deep post routes during practice, and they were really screwing it up, and they kept missing it. And essentially what the coaching staff told Malik Murphy is that if you hit this in the game, you can flip me the bird. They were joking, but Malik Murphy is 19 or whatever. So he actually did it during the game. And then
on the cameras, on the broadcast,
Manny Diaz was joking about it in his press conference, and then on ACC Network as well, kind of joking about it. But he said, "Oh, but we have to be held to a higher standard than that. We can't be doing that." But it was clear that they were like, "Oh yeah, he's facing internal discipline." Sure, he is.
Did an extra 10 push-ups at practice or something.
Okay. I said I saw the way that he described that, and then he was like, "Oh, but he's facing internal discipline. We have to be better than that. We have to use our head." Okay. That was the reprimand. He just told them to be smarter.
Yeah.
But
that was funny. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Go ACC to that.
Yeah. Can't lay more than a touchdown in a Duke game against anybody out of principle, to your point, that 8 or 9 points feels like too many.
Yeah.
But this much like the Florida State game, I feel like we're getting about a field goal's worth of value here. So that's why I'm locking them up.
Yeah. I'm not going to lock it up, but I'm with you on Duke laying the 4 here, and we'll see how all that goes.
Yep, that's all I got.
All right, Duke locked up for Mike. I've got Duke as well, but not locked up. Total's 52.5. Pass.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm good.
3 o'clock on the Cheeks W.
Cheeks.
The Pitt Panthers on the road in Chestnut Hill taking on the Boston College Eagles. Boston College a 5-point favorite at home. Total's 48.5. Mike, can I interest you in some CW underdogs in this particular spot?
You could. BC can't do this twice, can they? Where they just lay it on an opponent, lay it on another ACC opponent, like they just did to UNC.
Do you want to play a quick game of arrow up, arrow down?
No,
Boston College, arrow
up.
up.
I know how that ends. Yes, I know.
Pitt, arrow down.
I have a game that's even more fun for you, Joey.
Yeah.
Can Boston College get their second consecutive coach fired this week? That's a really fun game.
Did you ever play Halo growing up? Halo 3?
Yes, I have played Halo.
Double kill.
Yeah. There it is. That was pretty impressive there.
We could get that sound effect on the soundboard. We could do that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just do the exact same impression. Sound right, just like it. We'll do a side-by-side.
I am a little bit. I'm curious to see Pitt's defense could pose some issues for Boston College in this game.
With you.
I think. I realized that Pitt got absolutely just run over like a truck by Louisville last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But this Boston College offense is not what Louisville's can be when they show up, and they clearly did last week, right?
100%.
This is a less dynamic. This is a less of a like downfield passing attack kind of offense from Boston College. Like they are going to move the ball. If they're going to move the ball, it's going to be by running it primarily. And I think that Pitt will be able to stand up to that to a certain degree. What I really don't know is how much can Pitt's offense move the ball against Boston College's defense. And I think that's kind of the crux of what you think about this game. I think I'm going to lay them with Boston College, but I mean, I could easily see a situation where Pitt wins this game on the field. It just kind of depends on Pitt could easily generate a defensive score here that kind of swings the game one way or the other. I'm going to lay them with Boston College, but I'm not very confident in how this is going to go one way or the other.
Yeah, and because of that, I'm just going to take Pitt plus the 5.
CW underdogs.
CW underdog. The only CW underdog I'm pretty sure I didn't pick this year was Virginia Tech against Syracuse, and I got just boned so hard on that in the second half, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I've always had a way with words, as you know.
So eloquent, Mike.
Yes, one of my many good qualities. Yeah, I think I'm on the under here, though. Right, you got a backup quarterback situation potentially with Pitt. I know Holstein played a little bit last week, and then it was mostly Yarnell again. You know,
if Holstein's able to play, that's a benching now, right? If Nate Yarnell is the starter,
Are we really doing this?
Anyways, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I just don't. I don't feel particularly good about Pitt's offense here, and I don't know how much of what Boston College did last week with Grayson James is really repeatable. I mean, UNC really just, to use the term you like to use, let go of the rope. Yeah,
they did
in a way that I'm not sure Pitt's is going to defensively, right? And this is not Pat Narduzzi's best defense, but it's not a bad defense either. This just feels like an under game.
Yeah,
it should be cold up there. Should be pretty chilly.
Let's check the weather.
It's gonna be freezing in Blacksburg.
Yeah. Let's see. This game's on Saturday. High of 42 degrees.
That's not bad.
A little bit before kickoff, probably. So this is going to be dropping to the mid to upper 30s by the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a chilly day.
2 Northeast schools, I'll be fine. Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say the team coming in from Pittsburgh is not totally thrown off by cold weather. That's fairly familiar territory. So
yeah, I'm on Pitt and the under.
Fair enough. Boston College for me, Pitt and the under for Mike. You good to keep moving?
Let's keep it moving.
3:30 on ESPN. The number 6 Miami Hurricanes on the road in Syracuse, New York, taking on the Orange. Miami, an 11-point road favorite here. Total 67.5. Let me start out by saying I'm going to take the under here, just on principle. I know. Like
you
it
know,
seems
the
like
defense is here. It really
like my initial instinct on picking a score is like 45-42 or something crazy shootouty, right?
87. Oh, go over by 3 touchdowns. I'm taking the under.
I think that's in play. I'm just saying 67.5, the way that games have gone this year, and especially Miami's more than willing to just screw around for 2 quarters and do nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Give me the under. I think they find a way to keep this lower scoring. It feels a little too trendy to pick Syracuse here. Like everyone, we've been talking about this game basically ever since Miami lost to Georgia Tech, and maybe even before then. It's like, well, look out for that Syracuse game at the end of the year, and that's been in the national discourse for like a month now. So it feels a little bit trendy. Give me Syracuse. How can I keep doubting Fran Brown, Mike? my favorite coach in the ACC. How could I continue to doubt that man who is desperate to win games so that he can shower and sleep with his wife afterwards?
Well,
and not be relegated to the other bedroom.
That's true. Hopefully, no premature quacking going on. That's a note for our last podcast. Is
the deep cut?
The deep cut. That's right. The real ones know. I listened back. I listened back to that, and that was very funny. That whole section of the podcast at the beginning is. I guess my follow-up question is: Fran Brown going to be able to sleep with his wife on Saturday night?
Are we picking this game on the sleep with your wife principle?
Well, you're picking Syracuse. I just want to know to what degree you're picking Syracuse. Like to the degree that he's going to be able to sleep with his wife and shower, or
it's winners get washed, not covers get. What good? I got to workshop something over here. You keep going. Hang on.
All right, I'll continue. You work on that, and you get back in the lab. I'll go back to what I'm doing over here.
I think my brain is short circuiting right now. I don't know.
Yeah. So I picked Miami Wake Forest over 64.5 last weekend and got burned because Miami did screw around for a couple quarters. This is a game where you have two relatively high-powered offenses when they're right. I think that's the big difference here, right? So I bet the over in that game, feeling like, okay, Miami's defense, they have a tendency to let other teams score a decent amount of points, and decent amount of points for Wake Forest would have been like 17-20. Miami does what they need to do, cover the spread easily. This game's going to sail over. It didn't do that. Well, Wake didn't hold up their end of the bargain, neither did Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that these two teams can hold up their end of the bargain here. I have more confidence in Syracuse's offense than I do in Wake's, obviously. I have a lot of confidence in Miami's offense, period. It's what they do. They score a lot of points. You're right about the pick being trendy, like Cuse plus 11. We've been talking about it. Be careful, Miami, be careful. When push comes to shove, is McCord going to make a mistake here that's going to cost Syracuse and push this thing in Miami's direction? Very well could. Very well could. He's had a propensity to turn the ball over in tough spots this year. Does Miami make that play defensively finally? I could see it. I'm going to lay them with Miami. I know I've been talking big game about, be careful, Miami, be careful, be careful. Mostly a bit. I think Miami's good.
Lord,
here.
woke Kirby.
Covers get coitus. Go ACC to that. It's outstanding. Yes. Yeah. Fran. I'm gonna leave that alone because I could get us in a lot of trouble with what I wanted to say next. I'm gonna leave that alone. Miami. I'm gonna go with Miami. I think they cover here. I think they'll be okay. I worry about Syracuse and the turning the ball over thing. I do think they'll score here though. Give me the over 67.5. Ton of points. Not great defenses. Woke Kirby brings up another really good point, actually. Syracuse's secondary is pretty slow. Yeah, they are. They are. And that's... If Miami needs to flip the switch, they can. And even when they start slow, they can flip that switch. I think they can get there against Syracuse in the second half, even if it's like a slog. They're kind of playing with their food, screwing around like they like to do. I think they can hit the gas and get separation here.
I will say, if I were looking to wager on this game, I feel like this game has some pretty high alt line potential, where I feel like this is probably either Miami by 17 or more, or it is Syracuse +7 or better. Like this almost feels like kind of a in the middle type of result from what we'll see, where this is either a 4-point game with, Syracuse with the ball with a chance to go down and win the game, or Miami has ended this game with 10 minutes left, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know, something to consider if you're thinking about wagering on this and you got a local shop and you got alt lines available to you. Just something to consider.
Local shop, yeah. You go to your local medicine man and see what you get on the alt line.
Yeah, down to the mom and pop shopping. Usually like DraftKings or FanDuel.
Yeah,
the local places.
Yeah, Bet US.
Right. Yeah. Well, nobody goes there.
Yeah.
Syracuse
Only
and
for-
the under.
Only for the intro calls. Am I right?
Yeah, right. Syracuse and the principal under for me. Miami and the over for Mike. You got to keep
Keep
moving.
it rolling. Let's do it.
3:30 on ESPN2. So we got the games on ESPN and ESPN2 and the ACC network and the CW all at the same time. So we're going to get a good quad box, right?
Oh, of course not.
No. Why would you? Why would you? Cal on the road in Dallas taking on the number 9 SMU Mustangs. SMU a 13.5-point favorite. Totals 56.5. I struggle to figure out a way in my head that Cal keeps up in this game. And I think both between SMU, I think even against a pretty decent, solid defense like Cal's, I think SMU is going to move the ball. I am not convinced that that Cal's offense is going to move the ball against SMU's defense. I think this is a comfortable, large win for SMU. Don't take your eye off the prize here, right? And understanding, yes, they got the ACC championship game next week. Maybe that's the biggest thing I would maybe think is if there is a loss of focus somewhere in there, or you come out a little bit flat in anticipation of next week's game, but I don't have faith in this Cal team to go on the road and have what it takes to keep this particularly close against an SMU team that's playing the way it is right now.
No, at 13 in the hook kind of worries me a little bit, ironically here. But yeah, I'm gonna go with SMU as well. Congrats to Cal on making a bowl game. I don't see it here. SMU's got too much in front of them. This is a game I don't think they're going to. I know they've already clinched a spot in the ACC title game. Rhett Lashley is going to try to keep them as focused as possible. His name is already being thrown around with the UNC job. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think he's going to try to have him focused here and keep the thing rolling. I don't have a lot of confidence with Cal's offense in this spot. SMU's defense been playing pretty well. And to be honest, we're just scared of the commenters is what this boils down to. We're afraid to post this podcast and get whatever his name is to get all riled up in the comments and come find our addresses, and we're concerned about that. So we're picking SMU.
Speak for yourself, Mike. I think Rhett Lashley should leave SMU to go to UNC. I think that's a way better job than SMU is.
I think SMU should be given the death penalty if they let that happen.
On the real, why would you leave SMU for UNC right now?
As
head football coach. Why would you do that?
SMU has as much money as UNC.
As God. And
yeah. What? Okay, so you want to go to a basketball school? Look, UNC is a great job for a lot of coaches. I don't know if it's a great job for Rhett Lashley with what he's got going to SMU right now. That's what I'll say.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, well, I mean, that Texas talent base and everything else. Yeah, I mean, yeah, why would you leave? SMU for the both of us. Totals 56.5 pass. I got no opinions there.
I'm going to roll with the under here. Make that a play. I don't think Cal's scoring a lot.
38-14 or something like that. Like,
God. I mean, implied score would be.
Let's see.
13,
28, 35, 21, roughly.
Yeah.
That's too high scoring. Cal's not getting to. I don't think Cal's getting to 21 here.
Which is why, that's why the unders play.
Okay. Fair enough. SMU for the both of us, under for Mike. Last one in the afternoon window here, Mike. The NC State Wolfpack on the road in Raleigh, taking on the not coachless, but like soon to be coachless North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina a 3.5-point favorite here. Total is 55.5. Once again, this is 3:30 p.m. on the ACC network. Mike, this is a rivalry game that, from my research, does not have a name and does not have a trophy, and I don't really know how to explain either of those because, good Lord, we've been doing this for almost 100 years from these two teams. So can somebody name this, please? And can somebody make the $5 bits of broken chair or whatever trophy has to be made for these two teams? That's kind of crazy to me. NC State has won 3 in a row in this series, and NC State, again, they blew an opportunity last week against Georgia Tech. They are still not bowl eligible. They need this game to get to a bowl game. North Carolina is bowl eligible, and now, to me, there's a question here of if you are trying to consider what North Carolina is going to do in this game, is this a win-1 for the Gipper? Your coach is about to be gone, or is this your coach is about to be gone, so screw it, who cares, and let's move on to the offseason. Where am I going to transfer to?
NC State's to pick.
I think so. I think NC State's going to go out here and play their asses off trying to get to a bowl game. It is hard to imagine this NC State team, with where they came from, where they started this year, all that they've gone through. They have improved. It is hard to imagine them not being bowl eligible at the end of the day. And against what has seemed like a flawed North Carolina team, I think that they can do this.
Yeah, and this differs from what I said on the recap a couple nights ago, where I thought North Carolina, this game would have their full attention. They'd have the motivation to knock NC State out of a bowl game. Rivalry game, you just got embarrassed. You want to bounce back, play better. All that goes out the window when you fire your coach out of nowhere. That stuff goes out the window. So I am now on NC State, and maybe it's a win-1 for the Gipper situation. I don't think so.
Yep.
This is kind of out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't think so. I think NC State gets to a bowl game. I think they figure it out.
Yep.
I think they win. I like them out right here.
I think so too. You know who else thinks so?
Yeah, we've been quiet on this front, haven't we? But don't worry, we had one for you.
We did. What we don't have is the proper sound effect. So let's just go ahead and pick one.
All right, want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
Yeah, why not? Producer's pick of the week. Our guy Scott, not with us tonight. He is visiting family up in New Hampshire. He's also NC State plus the 3.5 as the producer's pick of the week. And as mentioned before, our guy Scott has been on a heater. So if there is a single pick from tonight that you want to follow, maybe it's that one.
NC State, 3 in the hook.
Yep. 3 in the hook. And I guess from what I'm saying, sure, NC State money line. Why not?
Oh, okay.
I won't be locking it up, but
Okay.
That's how confident I am in this particular matchup. But yeah, give me NC State in the points. I think they find a way, and I think they find a way to get this done on the field. So we will find out. NC State plus the 3.5 for all of us. I've got them winning outright. Totals 55.5 and pass.
Yes, pass.
Last one, Mike. 8 o'clock on the ACC network. The Virginia Cavaliers on the road in Blacksburg, taking on your Virginia Tech Hokies. Virginia Tech, a 7-point favorite at home here. Totals 48.5. It is the battle for the Commonwealth. They play for the Commonwealth Cup. Virginia Tech's won 3 in a row, and more importantly, Mike, they have won 18 out of 19 in this series, which tells me, regardless of what all is going on contextually with Virginia Tech in this season, this part of the year, don't overthink this.
Death, taxes, and the Virginia Tech Hokies. Joey, let's go ahead and lock them up.
Whoa. Hang on.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
You almost got yakety sacks there, which is a very different connotation.
Well, I mean, it could get yakety sacks on that pick. I don't. There it is. Virginia Tech is, they haven't been playing well, man. But Calandria against this defense, Virginia Tech's had some coverage breakdowns in the secondary and stuff like that. Calandria can turn it over with the best of them. They don't protect for him very well. They struggle to run the ball. He is not. The thing about Malik Murphy last week, right, is that Malik Murphy didn't have a turnover problem going into the game last week, and then he still turned the ball over, but they got off to the really hot start. And I told you, Virginia Tech on a down-by-down basis dominated Duke with the exception of the 4 plays that literally cost them the game. UVA has a worse offense than Duke by a considerable margin. I don't see it. Don't see it. Not in Blacksburg. Not in this spot. Don't see it, man. I think Tech by I don't think Virginia Tech wins like they did last year, where it was like whatever it was 56-14 or whatever the score was. I don't think it's anything like that. I could see like 23-10 though, or something. Could see that. Yeah, give me the Hokies by a couple scores.
I've got real questions about what is Virginia bringing here that is going to get them over the hump in this particular matchup. And I understand that Virginia Tech, again, you're on your third string quarterback and there's been health issues and the defense has been a little bit leaky, especially in the back half of the year. But this is not a Virginia team that is in form right now to break the trend in this series, I don't think. And especially on the road in Blacksburg, I just don't see it. And if I remember correctly, this is the first time that these two teams have played in Blacksburg in 6 years. We said it was
Correct.
2018 was the last time.
That's correct.
Yeah, because you had COVID in 2020. I think this is one that they were going to play, but then one of the teams had just too many guys out with COVID.
Yeah.
And then 2022, this was
canceled. Yes, 18 you played it in Blacksburg, 19 was in Charlottesville, 20 game got canceled for COVID. 21 back in Charlottesville, 22 canceled because of the shooting.
The tragedy, yep.
23 last year was in Charlottesville. Here we are.
Yep. Yeah, give me Virginia Tech here. I think they can win this game by 10 points without a problem. Total's 48.5. Give me the under. I think this is lower scoring. I don't know. This has a little bit of a sense to me, Mike, of not being a particularly aesthetically pleasing football game to watch.
Yeah, I would say so. Try to do other things with your Saturday night than watch this.
I would say if you're at a party or a gathering of some sort and nobody in the room is a particular fan or hatred of one of these two teams, there might be more entertaining games on the television on Saturday night that you might want to just throw on in the background.
I'll have other stuff on. I will have other stuff on Saturday night.
For what that's worth.
Yeah. Question from Devin real quick before we wrap up. Did we steal it? Oh, there it is. Yep, you and I were in a click off there.
We've been doing this for too long, Mike.
Yeah. Not time off you want to be in. Does a VT blowout lead to a Tony Elliott fire? There it is. Lead to a Tony Elliott firing. Maybe. Probably not. But maybe.
Probably not. 10 to 20% chance of that happening, maybe.
What's that Obama
As mentioned,
meme? He's like, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. As mentioned with the Mack Brown stuff, it doesn't seem like these power conference teams want to fire anybody right now. Like they're not trying to create openings if they can at all avoid it. And we've talked, again, our guy Justin Ferber, anyone else that we've talked to from Virginia, they are adamant that this administration does not want to fire Tony Elliott if they can avoid it. Now, could this be the final game that Des Kitchings is the offensive coordinator for Virginia? Quite possibly. Could there be other staff changes? Very likely. Is Tony Elliott still the head coach game 1 of 2025? I lean towards yes.
Me too. Related, Justin Ferber published a column this morning basically saying, yep, we are 3 full seasons now into Tony Elliott's tenure in the offense. Still sucks. Like, yep.
He was Clemson's offensive coordinator, so
yeah.
About that. Virginia Tech for the both of us, lay in the 7 points and under 48.5 for me.
Play the Falcon sound, baby.
Oh, man. Hold on. It's there.
There it is.
One more. You don't even care about this game. Your ticket already cashed. You're done.
Might bet it, though.
Why not at this point? Noon on Friday on ESPNU, the Bowling Green Falcons hosting the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Bowling Green a 2-point favorite at home. Totals 40.5. Hell, why stop now? Bowling Green on a roll. Give me the
Going for
Falcons.
win
Lay the
number-
points.
Lay 'em, baby. Win number 8. I got to have something to bet on while I'm having leftovers.
That's right. That's right. Get Harold Fanta that Mackey Award. Best tight end in the country.
That's right. Yeah, seal that thing up for him.
Absolute dude.
Bowling Green, they win. They lock up a spot in the MAC championship.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Game
so.
of significance. So.
Yep. There you go. Mike, you have anything else on week 14?
Nope.
You want to recap some locks?
Yeah, we did pretty well here considering the pace we were on early in this podcast.
Yeah, we picked it up here over the back half. I feel like I missed one of your locks on the sheet somewhere. You locked up Virginia Tech, right?
I locked up Virginia Tech. That's one you're missing.
Yeah. All right. We'll mark that. And then was there? It feels like there might have even been one more that I missed somewhere. But anyways, I'll let you look at that.
We're good.
Review of locks. I have South Carolina plus the 2.5 on the road in Clemson. I have Florida minus the 14.5 in Tallahassee. Mike also has Florida minus the 14.5. Mike has Duke minus the 4 at Wake Forest and Virginia Tech minus the 7 at home. That is 5 locks, Mike. 4 of them, us laying points with favorites. What could possibly go wrong? Florida being the double barrel lock here of the week for us. Let's see. I am down. I'm 2 games under 500 at this point. You are 1. I am tempted to have a third lock on that Virginia Tech. And, well, they didn't really help me in the standings anyways. But, all right. Yeah, let me just stick with the 2, and you can have the 3. How's that sound?
Okay, that's good. Works for me.
All right. Fair enough. Just, monologuing my thoughts over here as we go through this.
It's good. It's good podcasting.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I've learned in 9 years of doing this is just stream of consciousness. Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
Mike, let's get out of here. Let's go watch these games. We'll come back and recap them Saturday night.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah, let's do that.
Scott might be back potentially. We got
might be.
A message from him saying he's coming back into town with my lovely sister from New Hampshire. So he may be joining us.
Absolutely, that would be good. Always love having producer Scott here, and his producer pick of the week has been on a super heater. So go follow him there. In the meantime, we're on Twitter at FTRSJoey, at Mike McDaniel SI, together at BC Podcast ACC. We're on Blue Sky if you're over there, at Joey Weaver at BC Podcast ACC. Go find us there. youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast. Shout out to all the people in the chat with us tonight. Really appreciate you being here. It's been a lot of fun. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon if you want to find out when we're going live Saturday night or all of our other shows. We are on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts and Amazon and Google or YouTube Music, whatever. Wherever you find your audio podcasts, we're all out there. Mike, where else are we in the social medias?
Facebook.com/basketball conference rate review. Find most of our podcasts there. Subscribe to the YouTube. If you're new, most of our commenters tonight I know are not new. But if you are new to the podcast, like what you hear, like our show, please subscribe on YouTube. Helps us out a lot.
Yep, please do. Appreciate that. Basketball Conference Podcast at gmail.com is the email address.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Mike, anything else before we get out of here?
I will see you Saturday night, sir.
I will see you Saturday night as well. Have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, please travel safe. We'll look forward to seeing you. Enjoy Rivalry week, and we will talk to you then.
Yep.
All right. Until then, for Mr. Mike McDaniel, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Enjoy the games. Until next time, go ACC.